Welcome to the Global Gaming Business Podcast, the industry's first and longest running podcast, now in our 17th year. I'm Roger Gross, the publisher of GGB, and this week we sit down with Joe Billhimer, the Executive Vice President of the Cordish Gaming Group, on the success of the live Philadelphia property since it opened during the pandemic. This week's podcast is sponsored by IGT, which is at the peak of excellence with an entire lineup of top-ranked gaming machines. Reach your peak of success at IGT.com/peak. Welcome to the Global Gaming Business Podcast. My guest today is Joe Billhimer, the president of the Cordish properties in Pennsylvania, and we're at Live Casino in Philadelphia. Joe, it's great to see you again. You just gave me a tour of this place. It's pretty incredible, and it's really been the great success in Philly over the last year.
Yeah, great to see you, Roger.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about this project. I mean, it had this kind of two-headed monster in the beginning. You were in partnership with another company, and finally you bought them out. But this is an incredible property because of the location. Basically, I mean, you've got right off the highway. You're right by the Stadium District in Philly. And then you really built a first-class hotel. Here we are in one of the suites. It's an incredible place. So what was the important thing that you saw when you came in here?
Well, we are in the Stadium District, so
right.
I think what we've done a little bit is transform the Stadium District into a great place to come watch sports,
right.
Into a full resort destination.
Sure.
Because we get a lot of folks that will come in, but obviously you saw the tremendous location that we have right off I-76, right off I-95. Great access in and out. So we wanted to create in the Cordish style a resort destination in a regional market.
Right. And so we're sitting here today. Today is the beginning of the NFL season. So I imagine that really is attractive to you. What does it mean to you to be in this situation on a game day?
It's controlled chaos in the Stadium District when the Eagles play. Obviously, they sell out a tremendous number of fans, through the facility on an Eagles game day. And we have Phillies game days a lot more often, and the Sixers and the Flyers as well. But Eagles game day takes on a special meaning and requires a lot of our team members to really plan it out well.
Sure. Well, you're smack next to the Philly Stadium, the Citizens Bank Park, and I guess even those games are exciting for you guys here.
Yeah, and the Phillies having a great year this year.
Yeah,
This is really our first year without kind of pandemic, COVID-related issues around it, and we've seen a great year from the Phillies as well as all the other things that go on in the Stadium District. The Phillies and the Eagles and Wells Fargo's have concerts all year round as well, which also bodes very well for this property.
Sure. So I've been to a lot of games here, and it's kind of crazy getting out at the end of a game. I mean, there's just you got to sit in traffic for about 20 minutes at least. But so do you find that people come over here and kind of wait out the traffic? And
yeah, we generally have some people come with the intent of just going to the game and getting out, as you mentioned, because it can be a little bit of a frustration getting out. But we're a great spot to hang out and take advantage of various promotions, and we always have something going on, particularly on Eagles game days for people to enjoy, food specials, drink specials, all that. So we're trying to create that tradition. Let's hang out at Live while we're while the traffic's backed up.
Right. I guess some people arrive early as well and enjoy themselves here. Maybe do their
controlled tailgating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's your strategy with parking? Obviously, you're right next to the stadiums and a short walk, and that I know I used to park on the other side of the highway here to walk.
Yeah. Well, we control a couple thousand parking spots here, so we generally have, in our tier, our gold members can park anywhere on our surface lots for free, as well as our garage. We do have to charge as part of our agreement to be in the Stadium District during those games, but it really is. It's one of those things you really just have to roll with, right? Because we try not to over promote, during the game, and we try to punch around, before and after the games.
Right,
You know,
right.
we've got Ron Jaworski as a celebrity spokesman. This year people will be making picks against them, and there's always something going on to do.
Yeah, and Ron is one of the most beloved figures in Philly sports, so he's really a great spokesman.
Ron, beyond sports too, what he's done locally and with his charity has been tremendous. We're proud to host his charitable golf event, and we'll be hosting it again next year. I mean, he's not only a wonderful athlete, but a tremendous civic-minded person that really fits in well with our family business as well.
Sure. So, I've been to casinos that have been linked somehow to special events. For example, at Dover Downs, when they have the NASCAR races there, and a lot of times, when you have those big events and it's packed with people, your loyal players stay away. I mean, have you found that to be the case here at all?
Yeah, there's a certain segment that will stay away, but our loyal players, we try to integrate into the events, and there's so many different type of events.
Right.
Whether it be a concert, baseball, football, hockey, basketball, we try to invite them in, and we have, agreements with all four of the teams, as well as the different stadium events that they do, that we can actually bring them in and encourage them to come in for that. And with the hotel, we looked at Rivers Pittsburgh, they didn't have the hotel, so they couldn't really balance that. We can kind of balance it by inviting in some of the better guests for the event and stay with us. They're a spectator of the crowds.
So obviously you use sports as a marketing tool here. I mean, what better thing to use here in the Stadium District? How do you differentiate the kind of players that you offer some of these special events for?
Well, we offer it in various ways. Obviously, our VIPs, one of the parts of our chairman program is we actually offer you 2 tickets to any sporting event once a year. So that's a staple of our players club.
Right.
But from a VIP standpoint, we take care of quite a few more guests and bring them in from visiting cities as well, which is another target for us.
Right.
Not only on the sports side, but it's also on the sales side of our event center.
Right.
We bring in groups from Dallas when the Cowboys play. We host a lot of board meetings from around the country that want to be here.
Almost the way Vegas is using their Raiders and they Golden Knights these days.
Yeah, a little bit smaller scale for us, but yeah.
It's sometimes you go to a Golden Knights game and half the stadium's a Blackhawks fan or Flyers fan.
I've been out for 2 or 3, and I've noticed that it's not really a Raider fan base. They're louder than the visiting team.
They are. They always were. Right. So, are obviously, I guess the Eagles are the most favorite sport here then.
I would say that they bring out the most emotion and the biggest crowd for sure, just by just the size of the stadium. Yeah, absolutely, and a lot of optimism here in Philadelphia this year for the Eagles.
Well, they can keep that up, through half the season, we'll see. But so it's been it's a great property. I mean, here we are. How many rooms do you have in the hotel here?
208.
Okay, great. So are you able? Your occupancy rate is pretty good then?
Yeah, our occupancy rate and our ADR have been well beyond our expectations, even during the pandemic.
Right.
I mean, we're obviously a great spot from a regional standpoint, but even locally, we get a lot of staycations here. We haven't gone after the 4 Diamond status yet, which that's more pandemic related, but we certainly are a 4 Diamond type property, and as nice a hotel product as there is in Philadelphia in the luxury set.
Right. And you have some great meeting space. The event center, what seats at 1,000 for an entertainment, and a lot of rounds. I mean, it's really a comfortable setting, and then you have a couple of meeting rooms off to the side. I mean, how's that been working for you?
It's been working great, and again, I don't want to keep going back to the pandemic, but that first 8 or 9 months was very difficult to attract groups, and the city of Philadelphia, as well as us, has seen a revitalization of that, and we've continuously booking our 2023 is looking great.
Yeah.
Starting to even see repeat guests
Sure.
coming back now because they know what to expect. And as I mentioned before, on the sports side, it's a great way for a public company to host a board meeting.
Right.
Hey, coming from St. Louis, the Cardinals are playing here, they come to a game.
Yeah.
So it really is a great sales tool for us
Right.
as well.
And we didn't mention, you're very close to the airport as well.
12 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm back and forth from it
Yeah.
an awful lot. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that you can utilize just in this area.
Yeah.
So, it's not surprising that this property is doing so well. But during the pandemic, you went through some tough times. I mean, Pennsylvania had a lot of restrictions, but Philadelphia, piled on even more restrictions numerous times during that time. I mean, how difficult was that to get through?
It was probably one of the more challenging years I've ever had in the business. We're obviously used to rules and regulations in what we do, but the rules and regulations as they were changing almost sometimes felt like daily, but they, every couple of weeks there was different standards, not being uniform with New Jersey, Bucks County, Delaware County, with different rules being there and having to enforce rules on those guests was very difficult and very challenging. Our team members, I mentioned to you earlier as we're touring around, I mean, they're some of the friendliest folks I've ever been around.
And you've been around in some friendly environments on the Gulf Coast and Vegas, so for you to say that about, the gruff Philadelphia people is pretty amazing.
I got to tell you, I'm amazed every day. The guest service results that we get here top our company in terms of our 3 properties, but also are higher than anywhere I've ever worked.
Yeah.
And it's a tribute to our team members and the rest of our management team here. It's a fantastic group.
Right. What do you do to inspire them, to keep them, up at that level that they're working at?
I think it's almost infectious. It's part of the Cordish DNA.
Yes.
We're a family business. We don't succumb, and we're not really faced with the pressures of of a quarterly earnings call like we have been in the past. And we're just really focused on, our guests, our team members, and being a great family-run casino business.
Right, sure. So, really the first Cordish project, the Maryland Live, and if I say first, I'm discounting the entire Florida experience. I'm just saying the branded product, opened in Maryland outside of Baltimore a few years earlier. And so what did you learn from that, and what's different here than in Philly than is outside of Baltimore?
Yeah, the biggest difference is, we're stepping into an environment that is highly competitive and been around, with a lot of players that are very entrenched into, the various programs that they're in, with Atlantic City and even the other casinos in the area. Whereas Maryland was the first of its kind in that market and is, still one of the, top performing properties on the East Coast. Yeah. So it's still, it gave us a standard to shoot for, but we stepped into a much more competitive environment in this market for sure.
So in terms of amenities, I see a lot of similarities downstairs between the Maryland property and this property. Did you learn a lot of the things that you installed here in Maryland?
Yeah, I mean, with prime rib, that's a staple for us as far as a high-end steakhouse. And here we actually took what we did in Maryland and we call it prime rib 2.0. Really kind of enhanced the experience just a tad more modern, more modern music. Luk Fu is the Asian concept that we developed in Maryland. Here we took it up a little notch with its design. And then sports and social is a staple within the Cordish. We actually did that here first, and then we did that in Maryland after seeing the success we had here.
I wanted to go back to that in a second, but one of the other things that Cordish has done is run Xfinity Live, which is an entertainment center. It was between the old Veteran Stadium and the old Spectrum, but. but it's still there and it's still going great. What did you learn there that you put into play here?
Well, just the institutional knowledge of the Philly market.
Yeah.
I mean, Xfinity Live here in Philadelphia is really at Times Square.
Right.
It's right in the center of everything,
Right.
and just understanding the flows of the game, the expertise from the Cordish side
Right.
of being in the market for many years was very, very helpful,
Yeah.
particularly in Philadelphia.
For sure,
Yeah.
yeah. They can be a little bit jaded, for sure. So the other thing about, let's go back to social, sports and social. I mean, you have a FanDuel, that's a partnership with the Cordish companies, but sports and social is attached to that, and together they seem to work very well.
Yeah. So we were really looking for the integrated experience,
Right.
not only just being a sports book, but being a sports book that had the amenity of sports and social food experience. And sports and social, part of that DNA is a game day experience.
Right.
So when we have game days, we have a DJ and a lot of activity around it. So you feel like you're at the game.
Right,
And,
sure.
and putting those two together has been tremendous in our partnership with FanDuel, just on the retail side of sports betting. It's such a unique experience here. From when the folks are coming through the stadium district, they're all stopping in, for some sort of retail bet.
Sure.
And despite all the online activity, there's still something different about coming into the facility
sure.
and making that bet.
Yeah. So you have food is a big part of that. I mean, is it just basically stadium food, or do you take it to a next level?
Oh no, it's definitely to another level.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily high end, but
Right.
it's very well curated. Burgers, wings, but not your typical sports book. A little bit elevated. Much better experience, and other unique items on there as well.
Right. And then a bar right in the middle of it, which is
course,
great.
yeah.
And the screens are amazing. Your marketing director was telling me on fight night, it's a great experience. as well.
Again, being sports and social, again, we show any and all pay-per-views in there as a general rule.
Right.
IGT is at its peak of excellence, with the Peak Slant 32 at its 20th consecutive month as the number one ranked multi-screen and the number one ranked large form factor Peak 65, and 2 new cabinets joining the Peak family of top performing hardware. IGT has a Peak gaming machine to fit any floor need. Designed for superior player comfort, modern sleek beauty, and proven performance, all 6 Peak cabinets stand out gorgeously on the casino floor. Reach your peak of success at IGT.com/peak.
So tell us about your casino floor. I mean, you have a center bar, which is the concept that I always love in a casino. Where it just seems to generate energy right from the center, and we were also talking about the slots. You don't have the long rows of slots anymore. We have the carousels and maybe 8 or 10 of them together, but it's much more of a comfortable setting. Is this a trend in the entire industry, or are you guys ahead of the curve here?
I think with the Cordish's background in casino development, with the Seminoles and what worked there, and being more on the cutting edge. The center bar is obviously a concept that others have done, but it's kind of the center focus of our design, and everything else branches out from that.
Sure.
About 2,100 slots, a little over 100 tables.
Right.
We've got the ETG section I took you through, which is about 70 units there. Obviously the sports betting around the perimeter, but it was designed in a way that I think make different groups comfortable. We have kind of craps over by the sports and social. We have our mini bot tile games and all that over in the Asian section, just off Luck Fu, and then we even have an Asian slot section too. So a lot of thought went into kind of where everything is.
Right.
And as you know, we still tweak.
Of course.
Everybody tweaks. We tweak, and we're still tweaking.
Well, you have to be aware of those things. What slots are performing. And
Yeah.
And obviously you have the newest slots. So does that give you an advantage over some of the other your competitors here who have been around longer, I guess?
I think it definitely gives us an advantage.
Yeah.
Even some of the older game themes we just have in newer boxes, and again, the last couple of years have been a little crazy, and I think, a lot of companies' replacement cycle has been thrown a
Sure.
curveball.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we get rave comments, our machines are new, and,
Right, sure.
everything's working well.
And you have a beautiful poker room too. I mean, poker is a bigger game, I think, in Pennsylvania than it is in a lot of other jurisdictions. You kind of have to have a poker room these days, don't you?
I don't know if you have to have it. We chose to have it.
Right.
We think it's part of the overall experience for a full-on casino.
Right.
And it's as you toured it, it's a fantastic room, really well run. And again, in Philadelphia, there is a segment of the population that just really loves to play poker, and
Sure.
we give them a great experience. Host some great events in there. We've done some charity events in there. Deaf poker tour coming through.
Okay.
And it's really a unique space.
Yeah.
And I put it up against any poker room on the East Coast from a setting.
Yeah. I was reading about that deaf tournament. I mean, that must be the ultimate poker face because they can't hear anything.
It is, and it's really from the deaf community too.
Yeah.
It's such a great event, and I didn't know what to expect because we've hosted it one time before.
Sure.
And I went down there, and just really, it's one of those events you really like to do because you really see the participation
Sure, right.
of the deaf community,
Yeah.
and they love it.
Yeah, it must be a lot of concentration going on there.
Yeah.
So tell me about your database. Yeah, obviously when you started, I guess you had some names from the Xfinity Live, but you had to start with the crossover from Maryland. How many players go back and forth between here and Maryland?
Well, I won't get into numbers, but we started off, with Maryland's database over the last 10 years. We started off with a fairly large number of guests that had visited that property, and we still see a great level of cross-property visitation.
Okay.
What's even more interesting now for us is with Westmoreland, our Pittsburgh facility, Pittsburgh Live. We actually see guests coming out from there visiting both Philly and Maryland, and we're continuing to see that grow. We have a lot of higher end acts in the Maryland facility with our Hall Event Center down there. So we do a lot of things where we send people back and forth.
And I guess you got more of the sports thing here, so they send people.
And
the Ravens.
And vice versa too.
Yeah.
We have good relationships down there with the Commanders now, and
it's the Redskins. Okay.
Okay, I can't be on record saying that, but
I'm a Redskin fan, so.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's talk about the Pittsburgh. They call it a mini casino, but it's really not mini. You have about 750 slots.
750 slots, 40 table games. Of the 40, we have a small poker room. We have our partnership with FanDuel there as well, and we have probably our premier sports and social facility there. A restaurant. It does tremendously well. But yeah, it's a beautiful property. Again, done in the style of Cordish Gaming.
Right.
It is not. It's not a box. It is a well-designed, small, compact, beautiful facility.
And it's attached to a mall, is it? Okay.
Yep. It's
Again,
like Maryland.
Something else
Maryland,
in Maryland. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's doing well.
It's doing tremendously. It's exceeded our expectations. The pandemic on the west side of Pennsylvania was less impactful than the east side. The rules and restrictions there. So it opened to a great start and continues to perform very well.
And you're competing with full-scale casinos there as well. So
we compete with the Pittsburgh area casinos to some degree, but we also have a great location. And it's just a great community in Westmoreland that we draw 90% of our business locally.
Okay, great. So let's talk about smoking. I mean, there was a casino in this area that has gone totally non-smoking and apparently has not affected their revenues. You had to, obviously in the pandemic you had to go non-smoking, and you brought it back when that restriction went away. Do you think that if everybody went non-smoking, it wouldn't impact the casinos as much?
Yeah, I mean, I think if there was a national, movement for it, yeah, it would be less impactful. Unfortunately, I've experienced, going non-smoking in competing against other casinos that have existing smoking, and unfortunately, it's led to a reduction in revenue, which leads to a reduction in workforce. It is a tough one. We've brought back smoking here, but I think we've got a good balance. We're about 20% of our floor as far as our slots are you're allowed to smoke, and some areas of the bar you're allowed to smoke, and we've not brought back smoking to any of our table games. So we generally ask people to step back, and we found that to be a nice balance. It's not overly smoky, and there's enough selection where if somebody wants to be in a non-smoking area, they can be. And quite honestly, a lot of people come through our facility. I toured some old friends last night through the facility, and after we were done, they asked about smoking, and I said, yeah. They said, we allow it. They said they didn't smell it. That happens often.
Well, I'm sure you put up the biggest air handlers and things like that, because this is a new casino. But I mean, but you don't offer at the table, so that's the big complaint I think about most casino employees. It's the dealers. Being a former dealer, I remember getting smoke blown in my face.
I was there. I was there standing next to you.
Exactly.
We did this back in poker many years ago, where we took the smoking away from poker, and we found that people actually appreciated it at the table game level. So because you're sitting right on top of folks.
Sure, absolutely. All right, one last question. This is really the last casino that's going to be allowed in this area, and so the whole area is basically filled out now with gaming. What kind of growth do you see for this property over the next 5 years?
I think the property will continue to ramp. I mean, I think I look at it. We're still in the first inning of a 9-inning ball game.
Sure, right.
So I'll see. I would envision continued growth as we compete against all the other established casinos. We still are more convenient to a large population. And we'll continue to do different things and have different entertainment attractions, to get people here. And our partners with all the 4 major sports teams, are also a great way to attract and keep attracting new guests to the property.
Sure. I mean, I've been talking and seeing some posts online about former Atlantic City players that are now coming up here, because it's not only is it closer to them, but it's even I'd say equal, if not better, than a lot of the properties in Atlantic City.
Yeah, and again, we're brand new. I don't begrudge anyone in Atlantic City. It's been a tough market over,
for sure.
Even though it's still a very vibrant market. It's seen a huge reduction over the last 10, 15 years. But I'm very proud of what we've done. Our team has done here with the Cordish properties.
Great. Well, Joe, thanks for the time. It's great to see you, and congratulations on your success here. And I can see a lot of growth coming here too. So maybe we can catch up next summer when I'm back.
I look forward to it.
Great.
Hope you enjoyed this week's podcast, sponsored by IGT, which is at the peak of excellence with an entire lineup of top-ranked gaming machines. Reach your peak of success at IGT.com/peak. To learn more about the Pennsylvania gaming market, visit ggbmagazine.com. Subscribe to GGB News to get all the news of the gaming industry delivered to your desktop every Monday morning. Sign up at ggbnews.com and use the coupon code GGB180 for a free subscription. And don't miss a single episode of the podcast. Subscribe on Amazon, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify today. So we'll see you next time on the GGB Podcast.